Now, in Eretz Israel, so I shall speak Hebrew English. And now in Eretz Israel, there is a major problem with peace. Is there peace in Israel? Isn't there peace in Israel?
No.
If you ask Donald Trump, he will say there's plenty of peace. Everything is taken care of. Well, if you ask Bibi Netanyahu, we're going to fight until the last man and keep the war going. And the truth is that people do not understand the concept of peace. And if you do not understand the concept of peace, you can't possibly know how to get to peace. Obviously, the biggest paradox is by Pinchas. Pinchas was Zoich in the Brisi Sholem. He got a Bris Sholem, which we'll have to see what Brisi Sholem means, because he killed Zimri in Cosby. It seems a paradox. If you killed somebody, he's not making peace. If doing anything, he's making war. So, what is the definition of peace? Now, there was a rabbi in Omaha, Nebraska, and he was a new rabbi, and they took out the Sefer Torah and Parshas Pinchas, and they opened up the Sefer Torah, and they started reading, and it says Brisi Sholem, and they found that the vav in Sholem had a crack in it. So the rabbi said, a crack is possible. They returned the Sefer Torah, took out another Sefer Torah, and again they found Brisi Sholem. This time it was a short vav. It looked like a yud. Again he passed it. Then one more time he took out a Sefer Torah. After 3 times, the same problem. The vav wasn't written properly. So they said, maybe there's something behind this. So one of the old congregants that learned something once upon a time said, yes, in Parshas Pinchas, the vav of Sholem has to be written as a vav k'tiyah. Now, what does a vav k'tiyah mean exactly, and how does it work? So there's a machloikis. Some people say vav k'tiyah means that you write the vav shorter. That's why it's k'tiyah. It has its regular, its foot cut off. And others say no. You write it, you leave a space in between it, which would ordinarily possible, and then you continue writing the vav. So the question is, what is the connotation of this special type of vav? Is it a vav or is it a yud? Is it a yud or is it a vav? So over here we have something which is nogea to Hollywood, Florida. What is our life about? Our life is about ruchnius, or our life is about gashmius. Now anybody that came here from Eretz Israel knows, if I'm here and not Eretz Israel, gashmius, you want to make a few bucks. Not everybody makes it, but it's better than living in poverty in Eretz Israel over here. At least you can have Sunday off, you got carpool, etc., etc. So coming to Hollywood is a gashmius tikkun. Then you ask Rabbi Smith, he says, no, this is a Kehillah HaKadoshah, this is a place where you learn Torah and Yishtai. So what is it? Is it a place where you learn Torah, or is it a place where you make money? So the answer lies in the difference between a Vav and a Yud. We know that each letter of the alphabet has a special connotation to it. What is the connotation of the letter Yud? Who can tell me of you, illustrious rabbis? What's the connotation of Oth Yud? What does Oth Yud stand for?
Shem Hashem.
No, I mean that's not true, but that's not the real point. What does Oth Yud stand for? The rabbi, give the cover of Hollywood. What is what?
Dead. That's the blood.
Like a navak, it's small.
No, it's Vamashmot Ki B'Cha Hashem Tzur Oilomim. Oilam Haba, Yud represents Oilam Haba. Very good. Ruchnius. Why? Because Yud is the smallest letter. It practically doesn't take up any space. And Oilam Haba is not a gashmistika, and not a physicality, but a concept, an idea. So the Ois Yud always means Ruchnius. What does the Ois Vav mean? Over here, the Osvav is not, it's obvious, even though most people know. What does the Osvav stand for?
Ruchni stand the gospel.
No. Osvav by itself. What does Osvav by itself do? Why? Because it represents the body, right? The Vav is the head and the whole body, and therefore the Vav always represents the physical world. So now when you have a Vav which is a Yud and a Yud which is a Vav, what does that represent? That means spirituality, which is physicality, and physicality, which is spirituality. And when you have the unity, the combination of physical and spiritual, then you have the Vav. Moshe Rabbeinu, it says, Kikoran or Pono. Why does it say Kikoran or Pono? When he came down for the third time from Har Sinai. And then it says in the Tudu of Yeshua that their face literally shone. Why did the face shine? So the Mephoshim explained because the Gashmius of the Moshe Rabbeinu became Ruchnius, and Ruchnius is always lit up, and therefore his Gashmius became Ruchnius, and therefore Koran or Pono. And the idea of us learning Torah is to get Ruchnius into the Gashmius. An interesting thing is, what does the tefillin represent? You have tefillin every day. What does the real tefillin represent? Connection. Excellent. Wow, very good. You can come and join Yeshiva. It's a bit late. But anyway, there's an interesting story when the Yeshiva of Ner Yisrael moved to Mount Wilson from Garrison. I don't know if you're familiar with Baltimore. So the Goyim never saw a Jew before. So when the Jews went to buy food, the Goyim tried to get a peek to see where their horn is, because they thought the Jews have horns. Why do they think the Jews have horns? Because it says, because the statue of Moses, which Michelangelo sculptured, so it has horns coming out of it. And why does Michelangelo think that it has horns coming out of it? Because it says Kikoran or Pono. He has horns. So therefore, where are the Jewish horns? So the answer is the Jewish horns are spiritual horns. But the spirituality of the Jew shines out. And I think it's in Ramchal, if I'm not mistaken, Rabbi Chaim Mitzvah says, what does the tefillin represent? The tefillin shorosh. That's really the neshama which is being boiled achutza. The Ruchnius is going out, and the tefillin coming out of your forehead is the neshama shining out. So therefore, when you are doing, putting on tefillin, you should think, what am I doing? I'm taking the spirituality which I have within me, the neshama which is in me, and I'm making it evident by putting on the tefillin. And the Maramchal says that a person that does tefillin the way he's supposed to, he can literally feel the kedusha spreading out in his body. And this, I'll tell you an interesting story. I travel a lot, unfortunately, so I've seen the world. We come to Rosh Hashiva and see the world. So I was in London. So in London, there's a Baal Tshuva there that I used to see him regularly. He used to give me a nice set of money. And he said his son wants to put on tefillin. If I can put on tefillin for his son. So his son was in Manchester and I was in London, but I had gone to Manchester anyway. So I met him in a Hasidic shtibel. In fact, I met him in London. And anyway, so he put on the tefillin. And after he put on the tefillin, he said, I felt a charge of spirituality when I put on the tefillin. So I thought to myself, halavai, that every Yid that puts on tefillin in the morning should feel this charge of spirituality. How does that work? But the truth is, the tefillin itself has this capability of creating a stream of spiritual energy, just like you have electricity when you have the right conductor. The electricity flows outwards. The tefillin have the possibility of making the spirituality of a person flow forward. So getting back to the point is that Pinchas was doifed with Brisi Shalom. What does Brisi Shalom mean? That you have a spiritual ruchnis embodied in a physical world, body. Therefore, the Vav is above Ketiva. It's both a Yud and a Vav, because spirituality and physicality became unified. And since he became unified, spirituality and physicality, therefore he was broken to what? What was Pinchas Zoicha to? Now this is people think that people get different stories here. What was Brisi Shalom? What was Pinchas Zoicha to? What?
Kahuna.
Kahuna. That's what my son said at the I'm confused by the Kiddush for his daughter. So he said it's spiritual, the Kahuna. First of all, what he said was very nice, but I'm going to say better. And secondly, most people understand that he was Zoicha the Bris Kunas Oilam, that Pinchas never died. That's what it says, Bris Kunas Oilam. So which is it? That Pinchas never died, right? Or was that he was Zoicha to be a Kohen? Which of the two are correct? What?
Pinchas is Leo.
Pinchas is Leo, according to the Chief, it's Pinchas is Leo. Ma'al Kohen Beis HaKoros. At any rate, so the point is that what is the purpose of the Kohen? The Kohen is to make Shalom bein HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Klal Yisrael. Klal Yisrael, they go ahead and unfortunately have day-to-day difficulties. They sometimes don't say Kriya Shema at the time. They sometimes don't have Kavanah in Tefillah or Brachas or other things. And the Kadosh Baruch Hu gets aggravated. I give all this food and the fancy house and the swimming pool and all this, and I guess the guy can't get a few minutes for a bracha for me. So the guy gets the Kadosh Baruch Hu angry. So what is the Kohen's job? Here in Chutzlor, you don't have it so much. In Zeitzol, you have Birchas Kohanim. The Baruch Hu Yivarecha Hashem v'yishmerecha. Yair Hashem panav elecha v'yichunecha. Yisrael Hashem panav elecha v'yaseim lecha shalom. What is the Brisi Shalom of the Kohen? To make Shalom. Okay, the Jews aren't that great, but let's look the other way. They really mean to be good, and we have to understand, getting the spiritual world functioning in the physical world is not easy. So therefore, Brisi Shalom of the Pinchas HaKohen is the bracha that he became a Kohen. We'll talk about this in a second. And being a Kohen, he makes peace between the Kadosh Baruch Hu and Klal Yisrael. And by making peace between the Kadosh Baruch Hu and Klal Yisrael, therefore, he is considered being Zoicha to Kahuna, Bris Oilam. But they also say it means he doesn't die. So what is it? That he became a Kohen or he doesn't die? Why do people die? Why don't we all live forever? We're pretty crowded over here. But let's say that everybody would live forever. Why don't they? Why do people die?
We have a doctor here. Can ask the doctor.
What?
Well,
he don't kill him. He started to kill him. Boom, boom, boom.
לא, רק רע כל היום.
יצר שזה רמב"ם. אבל החטא של אדם הראשון, איתו של חטא של אדם הראשון, בגלל שהוא חטא, right, sin is equivalent to death. And I always say like this, why does a person die? He gets older and older, and his body starts deteriorating. He can't walk so well, he can't talk so well, he gets a heart attack, he gets a stroke, and slowly the body disappears and he's gone. Why is there a deterioration of the body? Because there's a conflict between the physical world and eternity. And since the physical world cannot have eternity, so it slowly wears out. But if a person would have a true energy of spirituality, the energy of spirituality will keep him alive forever. So the only reason we die is because of the sins which we have. If we were able to get rid of the sins, we would never die. And the Gemara says that there were only 3 or 4 that were and then you have Yeshua, what is it? Yeshua ben Levi, that he never died. He jumped into Olam Haba alive, and then you have Eliezer and Abraham. You have people that didn't die. So the point is The point is that we have to understand. Because Pinchas was Zoicha, the Bris Kulas Oilam, because he was able to be Yashiv, the physical world, the spiritual world, and make harmony. And that's the point, the purpose of the Kohen, to make harmony between the physical world and the spiritual world.
That's why he didn't die.
And therefore, this harmony created a situation where you don't die. And this we see by a real big Talmidei Chachamim. Roshach, I used to go to him at 102.
Rabbi Shlita.
He was sharp. He was sharp. The Rebbe only made it to 90 something. You know? What?
Rabbi Shlita.
Rabbi Shlita. Okay, that's it, right. At any rate, so over here we have to understand what was the thing which brought about this capability. That wait. First, I want to talk about what my son spoke about.
What? About the Rabbi Shlita?
No, that's what why was it that Pinchas got kahuna now and he didn't get kahuna before? So my son said, a Kohen, you cannot become a Kohen. You can become a king, even though it's illegal. You can become a Talmid Chacham, but you can't become a Kohen. So how was it that Pinchas became a Kohen? He doesn't have, there's no such avenue of becoming a Kohen.
He was also born into it. He was a grandson of Aaron.
Right, so that's the question. If he was a grandson of Aaron, why didn't he get Kohen Kula right away? Why did he only get it now? Manashach, that's the whole problem. So the fortune say like this. Pinchas was a Gilgul of Cain. Since Pinchas was a Gilgul of Cain, and Cain's kina was the thing which killed him, and wrought Misa, more Misa Lo'ilam, and since he was a Gilgul of kina, a Kohen can't be somebody that has the story of being about kina. If he's jealous, if he can't fargin, you know what fargin means? It's Yiddish, right? This is fargin
In English?
There's
no word for it.
There's no word for it. Fargin means
There's no such thing. The English people don't.
there's no such thing as such animal. Nobody fargins anything, right? But the idea.
Interest.
Toyota had a commercial once and they said "Vergin."
Really?
And not Toyota, the German
Volkswagen. But the idea that it means that when somebody else has something, not only aren't you jealous, but you figure, he really deserves it. It's something that he deserves. When you forgive people around you, so therefore they appreciate, you appreciate the fact that they have their own stature, and since you appreciate their own stature, therefore they deserve to get things. But unfortunately, what do we see?
Salio ist gemacht für 2 und 1.
Was?
Ein.
Ah,
Welches Salio? Das ist nicht so. Gemacht für twice ein. Ein 9 Teufel.
So we have iron toys as well. Okay, then I'll have to write down my notebook for next year. I can't say it over here, I have to say it in Los Angeles, but at any rate, so the idea is you have to have Tov Ein. So since he had Kina, and to be a Kohen you can't have Kina, therefore, even though he was supposed to become a Kohen because he was an Enikul of Aaron Kohen, but Kadosh Baruch Hu said, no deal, right? Because you have the Midah of Kina, therefore, you can't have it. So, but what happened when he killed Zimri and what's it, Kozbi Bastur? So he took the Midah of Kina and used it positively. Since he used the Midah of Kina positively, so therefore the chesorim that he had of being about Kina, that was the Sukan by when he using the Kina properly. So then he could become the Kohen which he deserved to be in the first place. So my son is right, you can't become a Kohen Samazoi. But if you worry about Klal Yisrael, which is the Midah of the Kohanim, so therefore you can get Kahuna, but only if really you deserve it. There's a nice which everybody tells about this guy that came to the rabbi. The rabbi, I want to become a Kohen. He says, no, I'm sorry, you can't become a Kohen. I'll give you $1,000, no, $5,000, $100,000. So I said, why do you still want to be a Kohen? Because my father was a Kohen, I want to continue. Okay, $100,000, let you become a Kohen. But that's be able to get your job. At any rate, so the idea is that Kina, when it's used properly, is a positive thing. And therefore, Eliyahu Hanavi, he was the leader of Pinchas, but his kina was negative. And since his kina was negative, Hakadosh Baruch Hu sent him out to the Midbar, and he had to come every day to every bris because he has to see the Klal Yisrael. Our bris, and not the way he said. But what's the difference between positive kina and negative kina? So now, this is a very interesting concept. Negative kina means that it bothers you that he has something. If he has something and you don't have it, so you're mekana, so that is negative kina. What does positive kina mean? Positive kina means that if there is something which is not proper, which is not functioning the way it should function, so the kina is not for the person that you want to have what he has, but the kina is for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You want that HaKadosh Baruch Hu's world should be metukan, the way it's supposed to be. So therefore, we have to have a concept of kina. It says there's kina soifrim tarba chochma, and then it says that the kina of time v'choved posimus adam v'no'elam. So what are we supposed to have? We're supposed to be bali kina, or not supposed to be bali kina. So the answer lies in this point. If the kina is to make more, to make things better, then the kina is a positive thing. But if the kina is the other guy shouldn't have, then the other guy should be less, so then that kina is a negative kina, and since that kina is a negative kina, if you have that kina, it's motzi es adam min ha'oid. So now, this week's parsha was Parshas Pinchas. After Parshas Pinchas comes Matas Maser. What is in Parshas Matas Maser which is important? So you have the Masot. How many Masot are there? Do you know? 42. You're fair. Why 42 Masot? Why 42 Masot? So we know that there's a Shem.
Shem and Bas.
That's fine. Where do we have the Shem and Beis? Where? Almost. Okay, so that's in fact. You have a kehila of Talmidei Chachamim. Eli, you have to have the killer's chumot. How is something you should be? At any rate, the point is like this. We have Shem HaMefurish. The Shem HaMefurish is, under ordinary circumstances, 72 letters to it. And the letters are really not one letter, they're 3 letters, it's a whole combination. We're not going to go into the Shem HaMefurish of 72. But what is the gematria of 72? Chesed. You're 72, the Shem Havaya of Mefurish of 72 is pure chesed. But as we all know from the Ramchal, the pure chesed is not good because the person has to deserve what he gets. If he doesn't do something to deserve what he gets, so then it's now in the kesufa and it's not the right thing. So what is the Shem Memvet? The Shem Memvet is the chibur between the Olam HaRuchani and the Olam HaGashmi. And therefore, whenever you have the chibur between Ma'ariv of Shabbos and Kabbalah's Shabbos, you have the Olam HaKorach. Because the Olam HaKorach is you're being mechaber the Olam HaRuchani and the Olam HaGashmi. You also have it in Karbonis. When you said in the Karbonis, you say Olam HaKorach. Because Memvet means the Shem Havaya, Shem HaMefurish of Memvet Osius. So the Zohar says that there are 42 tachanot that a person has in his life. And it mentions each one. First, he gets more. Then if his boy has a bris milah, and if not, he has a kiddush, or she has a kiddush. And anyway, then he starts talking, then he starts crawling, talking. Anyway, I can't remember all 42, but there are 42 different stages through which a person has to go through until he gets to the Tachna Avoda, to Olam Haba. So therefore, after we have Pinchas, and after we have Matas, that we know that the Nekoma can be a positive thing. We say that all the time that Nekoma is a bad thing. Lo sikoma, lo sitor. So is Nekoma a bad thing or a good thing? So the Moshe would say Nekoma comes from the word lahakim, to establish something. If you're trying to establish something as a truth, then the comma is a positive thing. If you're trying to do the comma in order to have your personal vendetta, right? That's the word I think.
Vendetta.
What?
Yeah, vendetta.
Nice word.
Right. Then that's a negative thing. and therefore you're not allowed lo siko v'lo sito. But that leads us to the maseh, from one maseh to another maseh, until we get to the end of Chumash Bamidbar, which is personal, the Masot of Klal Yisrael in the Midbar, which represent the Masot of Klal Yisrael in Golus in many, many different places. So now, over here, when I come to America generally, I always have this conflict. We see that over here, the Jews are, how would I put this, less under strain. If you live in Israel, all the time, Tzara is true. First of all, the Haktashainik with the Gius, they were all Mishtamtim, they were all should go to jail, they're taking them to jail. And then not only that, it's not bad enough, then they keep on having missiles shooting at us, and then if there's missiles are shooting at us, and they have these new Rachfanim, what do you say, Rachfanim? Drones, right? You can't even walk the street anymore, you hear zoom, zoom, you never know what's going to be. What? But the point is, in Eretz Yisrael, you're in constant pressure. And Shalom, can there be Shalom between what's his name, Lapid, and the Fruba? It's like how can you get it together? The only mile is when they need you, they take you down to the garden from the. If they're going to need the Quran, maybe they'll be able to do something. But you're under constant pressure in Eretz Yisrael. So therefore, when I come to America, I can breathe, right? Unfortunately, but Mitzad Sheni, you have in Eretz Yisrael Talmidei Chachamim Muflogim Yoser. I personally learned with Chaim Kanievsky. Chaim Kanievsky knew Kol HaTorah Kula Peh B'Tzura. I don't think it's many respect to the Gorgon Reveal that something like that. Where did Chaim Kanievsky grow from? He grew, first of all, the Cyprus said he was Mispalel, Meos, but he lived in an atmosphere where Torah, only Torah existed. He didn't know anything, just Torah. He was once going in a cab, and he saw the cab driver changing gears all the time. So he thought he was mixing the gasoline. So he said, hey, you keep on driving, I'll mix the gasoline for you. Well, can you imagine the guy in the Scholar Torah doesn't know the difference between a gear and not a gear? It's unbelievable. But the point is that in Eretz Yisrael, there's a concentration of Kedusha. Since there's a concentration of Kedusha, therefore, the tzoros are greater, but the results are much more. In America, the tzoros are less, even though a lot of people go bankrupt, but they'll manage to get bankrupt a few times and then they make a lot of money. But in America, there's more gashmias, but the ruchnius is not there. But I always used to say that an average American bocher is better than the average Israeli. Why? Because the average American, he learned Torah because the cheshik, at least it was once upon a time like that, I'm not sure if it's still like that. At any rate, but the Israelis, either you're tremendous or you're enormous, one or the other, that's the Greek. So it's a big problem, we have all kinds of pressure. So we here, I must say that I appreciate Rabbi Smith in his attempt that the Kehillah should be built on Torah and on Yirat Shamayim and on Kiddush Torah from Tab Chochmah. And if everybody makes for himself goals and directions and realizes that the Gashmias has to be integrated, unified with the Ruchnias, if he realizes that, then the Kosh Baruch Hu that he should have nachas from the kinder, from the Eineklach, and the Kehillah should stock and my son should come back and become a chacham with a lot of money. And
Oh, man.
Amen.